Okay, it's 3 o'clock. Is everybody ready? Call the meeting to order. This is a public hearing, and we are the Zoning Board of Adjustment for Putnam County, Florida. We operate under the authority of Articles 11 and 12 of the Land Development Code as amended. The primary responsibility of the board is to hear and decide appeals challenging final determinations made by the Planning and Development Services Department under the Land Development Code, and to hear and act upon requests for variances, special use permits, nonconforming use determinations, and preliminary development plans under the Land Development Code. Today we have a variance. A variance is a relaxation of the requirements of the zoning code in a particular case where, because of unusual circumstances, a little enforcement of our zoning code would result in undue or unnecessary hardship. The zoning code permits us to authorize variances only for height, size of structure, size of yards, and open spaces. If we grant a variance, we may impose reasonable conditions on the use of the property which must be satisfied if the variance is to remain valid. The standards we use in deciding whether or not to grant a variance are listed in Section 45-833 of the Land Development Code. I'm skipping the special use permit section because there's only a variance case. Procedurally, we will call each case by name and number. A member of the staff will then briefly explain to us the nature of each request. We will then take any comments from the applicant or their representative, followed by any public comments concerning the request. Please direct all comments and statements to the board and not to other people in the audience. Before speaking, we will ask each person to be recognized, come forward to the lectern, and identify his or herself by name and address. After all persons wishing to speak have been heard, we will entertain a motion from the board. This motion will be voted on by the board members and become our final order. Any decision made by this board can be appealed to the circuit court. However, any appeal must be filed within 30 days after the Board of Adjustments has rendered the final order which is being appealed. I'm going to ask the question since there's nobody in the audience, but are there any questions? Okay, before the first case is heard, all of those wishing to speak need to be sworn in. So since there's no one in the audience, I guess the oath will not be administered. Okay, before we hear the first case today, variance 24-000009, I need to ask if there is any ex parte communication or conflict of interest.
I have had ex parte communication with the applicant. It will not affect my ability to make a decision today.
Okay, we'll do a roll call for the rest. That was Mr. Winkleman? Okay, any?
Earl Valentine?
None.
Mark Fisher?
No.
Linda Osborne?
No.
William McGahee?
No.
Ron West?
No.
Okay, staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Michael Graves, Planning and Development Services. This is variance 2409. The applicant is Eric and Ally Schmidt. The location is 109 Hicks Avenue in Crescent City on a parcel that is approximately 0.6 acres in size. It is zoned residential 1 with a future land use of rural residential. The request is a variance from the Land Development Code, Section 45501, for a 25-foot waterfront reduction from 50 feet to 25 feet and a 10-foot front reduction from the front setback from 25 feet to 15 feet in the R1A zoning district. The subject parcel is currently vacant and is located in FEMA flood zone AE. The subject parcel appears to contain no jurisdictional wetlands and fire services provided by Station 12 in Willaca, with EMS Station 83 in Satsuma providing medical response. According to the applicant's proposed site plan, the subject lot size results in an area of 0.6 acres in size. The relevant principal building setbacks for the property as they are now are 25 feet from the front, 10 from the sides, and 50 from the waterfront. The allowed impervious surface ratio for the subject parcel is 50%, or approximately 13,068 square feet. Here you can see an aerial view of the property. Here is the wetlands, the flood zone, future land use, and finally the zoning. Special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land. The subject parcel was first created on OR Book 0509, page 1832, At the time of the creation, the parcel was of a smaller size than it is today. It was combined with another portion of land in the front that borders Hicks Road. The easement is not only that portion of land that it was combined with was an easement, which was only recorded in the Domingo Acosta grant and has not been recorded since. The issue arises in the fact that Hicks Avenue has been developed into the northern portion of the property, either by accident or by active choice of the previous owner, Mr. Decker, who owned the private easement that would have run along the side of Hicks Avenue. Hicks Avenue now diverges from the dedicated path that is owned by Putnam County at the intersection of County Road 309 and passes through the northern portion of this parcel. The special conditions and circumstances described in this paragraph do not result from the failure of the applicant. The applicant purchased this property in 2023, long after the two properties had been combined into one. The property is now one and no longer a recorded easement. And it is and was done so upon significantly after the initial recordation, which is the only recordation of that easement ever existing. The fault as such is not with the applicant. Granting the variance requested will not confer special privilege to the applicant. Several properties on this street have already received or are in need of additional variances in order to do so. In addition, directly across the street is a vested subdivision which has a 25-foot waterfront setback by right. It is incorrect to say that the granting of this variance would be special privilege when directly across the street the privilege is granted by right. Literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other property owners. I refer you again to my previous comment of directly across the street. The variance is not needed as the setback reduction is granted by right. Parcel 112 in particular is, which is this subject property, has been mentioned several times. In addition, there are 123 and 131 Hicks Avenue down the road. These have not been granted variances, however, are closer to the waterfront due to the fact that at the time that they were constructed, staff had considered canals to not be water bodies. As such, they were subject to a 20-foot rear setback. It was only recently that staff has determined that canals do indeed classify as water bodies in accordance with state regulation, and as such, a variance is now to be required. Granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this ordinance, and such variance will not be injurious to the area. Many properties in Putnam County requires variances such as this by right. This is true for all possible setback lines, including the waterfront setback line. The reduction of setbacks is common and almost never injurious to the surrounding area. The variance granted is the minimum variance that will make this reasonable. The requested variance is the minimum needed for the applicant to make reasonable use with their desired configuration. As such, staff finds that the requested variance meets the criteria required for the issuance of the LDC in LDC Section 45-833 and recommends approval for the variance to reduce the 50-foot waterfront setback to 25 feet and the 25-foot front setback to 15 feet in the R1A zoning district for the development of a single-family home. Any questions?
Any questions for staff? Okay, thank you. At this time, let's do a site visit roll call.
Earl Valentine,
Yes.
Mark Fisher,
Yes.
Brenda Osborne,
Yes.
Linda Gahey,
Yes.
Ron West,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, since there's no one in the audience today, I guess this is going to be short and sweet. So if there's no questions, let's proceed and have a motion and discussion.
Madam Chair, I move we approve variance number VAR 24-000009, as it meets the criteria for a variance as required by Section 45-833 of the Putnam County Land Development Code. There's no conditions.
What about final order business?
With the addition of no conditions, with the authorize the chair to sign the final order.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve variance 24-000009. Any further discussion? If none, all of those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion carries 6-0. I guess the next thing on the agenda today is old business. Is there any old business? What about new business? Everybody had a chance then to read the minutes of June 19th, 2024?
Move they be approved as read.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of June 19th, 2024. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, I think we have a motion to adjourn.
Does it have anything from staff?
Oh, I don't see anything.
Y'all don't want to keep us here any longer? I
I
move we adjourn.
I think this is the fastest we've ever had a case. Okay, all right. Thanks, guys.